What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Classic Championship Series. Today, we got Week 7 as Shadowz takes on Sensei Squad. I'm Rod Chains, joined by Elsa the Queen, and we are into the draft for game number 1. Shadowz taking off Jace in the first ban.
Yeah, and I am excited to have you back, Rye Chains, after your 2-week hiatus from the CCS. So glad to have you here again, and I'm excited to see Shadowz versus Sensei Squad tonight. And I think tonight we have a matchup between two teams that aren't the top of the standings, but they're two teams who are right in the thick of the playoff race, which means that this game is going to be really important for determining not only who makes playoffs, but also who might be eligible for a potential first round bye, or who gets to pick the lower seed that they want to play against. So there's a lot on the line as we go through these bands tonight.
Yeah, and I do want to just mention that we are seeing we actually there's one ban loss for Sensei Squad, and that'll come in at some point here. I believe it should be an Azir ban. Yeah, there it is. So just due to time, we had some internet issues with Veneris, the mid laner for Sensei Squad. So losing one ban based off of time here, but just looking over at the rest of the picks, Talia is going to be the first pick, and Veigar and Thresh and Jinx, the last three that are taken away.
Yeah, so I'm excited to talk about this Talia. So this week there's kind of a big change on Shadows. They had Jenka, their starting mid laner, was subbed out. Not exactly sure why. Actually replaced by Frosty, who they're bringing in this week. And he is a Talia main. Looks like heavily the most preferred champion by this particular player. So interesting to see that one go through the bans for Sensei Squad. Not sure if they intentionally let that one through or just a little bit of a slip up maybe in the scouting on their part. But excited to see what he can do given that that is sort of his main pick. But Sensei Squad coming through here with the Xin Zhao definitely makes sense to me. They love prioritizing those strong picks for Aquatic Bear. But with that being said, Xin Zhao, Raichain's definitely nerfed a little bit more recently and has fallen out of popularity in comparison to before.
Yeah, I think Jinzao is still pretty good. It's just kind of a solid pick. It shows that Aquatic Bear wants to be on the map early, making plays, early pressure, just all around here. And paired up with the Ziggs, it does have some pretty good pick potential. I mean, obviously, there's nothing like that super hard CC, but with the Ziggs, you have the slow, you have the satchel, and the ability to kind of set up Jinzao to hit the W to get that extended range on the E and then kind of dash in. And when you see Jin Zhao picked, it's a lot of the times you get to see the Viego matchup into it in that jungle, and that's what you're going to be seeing here. So Viego is going to be the pick for Shadowz, and I imagine this is going to be one of the bot laners here, probably the AD carry, as you can see some hovers coming through. But I do, I think this matchup is pretty common when you see Jin Zhao picked. Is the Viego.
Yeah, and Viego, I think rising a little bit here in popularity, as some of those champions like Jin Zhao have been weakened a little bit. But with that being said, like you said, Jin Zhao still really a solid champion, still kind of brings those same things to the table that it always does, regardless of nerfs, and that's gap close with the E and the W, and then also, of course, that knock up CC just pulling off early ganks. But seeing the Ziggs locked in as well probably means for me that Sensei Squad's going to go for a safe bot lane here, just trying to farm it out. And that really, again, fits in their play style. Their top laner, Nick Lawls, does like to be on those carries. We saw the Jace already banned away from him, enabling him to be able to take the strong side with some sort of carry pick will mean that Aquatic Bear can get up there into that top side. But looks like Rel going to be locked in here alongside the Zig. So Rel definitely something that we're not seeing quite as much anymore, but we already talked about subbing players out, and it is a sub support here playing from Sensei Squad today. It will be Stevicus coming onto the Rift, and is actually going to be against another sub support for Shadowz in Usain.
Yeah, and I like this Kaisa pick actually. I think it's very, very smart here. It's a nice flex because both Frosty and Dirty Mid Main play Kaisa. So that could be going in mid or in bot. And I think Kaisa is pretty good right now, actually. Even, in both positions, AP Kaisa mid has gained popularity a lot. I've been seeing that a lot more often. So it can be pretty interesting. I'm excited to see where they opt to put this. Obviously they're not gonna have counter pick. So based on what this 4 pick is from Sensei Squad, will kind of determine where they want to go with it. But Action and Victor taken off the table here. I expect actually, yeah, no, never mind. It should be interesting to see, where I'm looking forward to seeing what Shadows does actually with this comp.
Yeah, I agree. And, you pointed out the flex potential of the Kaisa as we have another solo lane takeaway here. And, it is pretty flexible. I don't really see where else that Talia could go other than like maybe support. I guess we have seen Talia bot lane like in the past. But Kaisa's super flexible, not only in where she goes, but also her build path. That AD build is still really strong as well. We've seen that one more so still coming out of the bot lane with the Kraken Slayer, often the Collector built up alongside that one. So his Sensei Squad here looking to lock in, and it is going to be the Yone. So this is something that I notice is on Nikolaw's match history for sure. Yone is a Nikolaw's champion, but it's also a flex. Could go into the mid lane, which is where we often also see Yone. So it does leave Shadowz to sort of guess a little bit still here with their last couple of selections.
Yeah, when Shadowz picks a flex, what does Sensei Squad do? They pick a flex in return. Why not? I like the adaptation here in the champion select. We got a support pick coming through from Shadowz now, and it looks like it's a Morgana. So it's a pretty interesting pick paired up with the Kaisa. I don't really like it that much, but nonetheless, I guess we'll have to see. We'll have to wait and see how it ends up working out.
Yeah, so interesting to see here. We are gonna get the Morgana, as well as it looks like it will be that Tryndamere. No, it's not gonna be the Tryndamere. Well, maybe it will. I don't know. We're waiting here. It's going to be the Renekton, so not necessarily the most exciting, but with that, with that said, like I think Renekton gets a lot of hate, but I still think that he does kind of similar to what I was saying about Jin Zhao. With that W, yes, the duration has been taken down, but he still has that ability to get that stun. Really good follow up for the gank, which is going to be strong with Viego, who of course will have that ganking power early, and it allows Viego to guarantee his own stun. Same with Talia, right? When Talia jungle was more popular, Renekton Talia, this really strong combination, and it will be the Jax as the final lock-in for Sensei Squad. So it looks like that is going to be, Nick Laws throwing down against young Nats, picking something that I believe this is pretty good matchup for Jax, especially
Yeah,
obviously going to outscale, and
yeah.
even able to block that stun with the counter strike early on. So I like that pickup from him. There is quite a bit of AD on the side of Sensei Squad, but they do have that Ziggs in the bot lane for a little bit of AP as well. And I just like the amount of flexibility and a little bit of trickery that's come out of both of these comps.
Yeah, and I just realized I don't know, for some reason I didn't realize that this Talia was obviously going to be going in the mid lane for Frosty. When I was thinking about how this Kaisa could be a flex pick, I realized, wait, it's actually not really a flex pick because Frosty does have a lot of talent on this Talia, so
Dude, could have been Talia
it
jungle,
could have been
Viego
it could
top,
have been
Kaisa mid,
something.
or dude,
It
you
could
never,
have been
it was
something,
open.
but
But yeah, it wasn't necessarily likely, but it's still good to keep in mind. Looks like we're having a little bit of an issue here
they
with
made a
the
blind pick game.
collect. So we are gonna need a moment till we get through to that. But I do want to point out as well, I did misspeak earlier. I know that Shadowz had said that they were going to be having a sub support, but it looks like that didn't end up happening. So you do have Donell's girlfriend, who did join us for the analyst desk this week, is in there on the support. She specializes on especially sort of those enchanters and sort of mage supports, so the Morgana fits in there. Um, Glad for Shadowz to be able to do that because the sub that they were supposed to have didn't have any support games that I could see on his solo queue record. So probably preferable to have their starter tonight
Definitely, would rather have your starter over an E
or a
sub.
support player, really any
Or yeah,
support player.
a support player in general is usually, beneficial when you need someone to play in the support role. But either way, yeah, we do kind of see these drafts um pan out, and we kind of get an idea of what each of these teams want to go for here. Do you want to talk a little bit about the win conditions?
Yeah, so when we think about, Sensei Squad is kind of the freshest, I think, in the memory of those who have been the faithful of CCS 1. 2 weeks ago, me and Redacted casted their win against Sensei Squad. What we saw for them was that they really tried to center themselves around the jungle with Aquatic Bear, getting a lot of early ganks going, especially around the top side, and really playing with solo lanes that can, shove up pretty well early in order to give him that priority, or at least bring the CC in order to enable those ganks. I think that we can check off some of those boxes with this draft. We already touched on how Jin Zhao brings that early game prowess, will be somewhat matched by Viego, but still going to be able to have those ganks. And then especially looking into this top lane, definitely Nick Law's bringing that CC to potentially try to, fight some 2v1s or even potentially 2v2s if Viego goes up there. So for Sensei, it's going to be all about getting that early pressure in the jungle and snowballing off that. They did a nice job of snowballing their lead, and this tends to be a really snowbally team. You'll notice on the match history, they either win 2-0 or they lose 2-0. I think they have one series that went to 3 games against Iconic. On the other side, for Shadowz, this is a team that has played a lot of 3-game series. I believe they played 15 games so far this season, which is a lot given the number of series that they have played. And, for them, Frosty coming in as this new mid laner on paper looks like potentially the strongest mechanical member of the team just due to his rank as well as the number of solo queue games he has. So I think we might maybe see a little bit of a different version of Shadowz coming out than we have before. But they have in the past centered themselves a lot around the bot lane with Dirty mid main trying to get some hard scaling pick. He's been a big fan of the Jinx in the past. Jinx a little bit weaker after that slight nerf. So Kai'Sa is kind of more of that flavor of the month, as you mentioned, Rychains. Bringing that one instead still kind of fits those same pieces to the puzzle for Shadowz.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely like a lot of the points that you talked about there. Aquatic Bear is gonna be, they gave him the Jin Zhao, right? This is a champ that you need to get early, or you need to get ahead on early. Otherwise, you're gonna be useless. So that's definitely important here. Did you get the invite to the game, by the way?
Oh, that is a good question. I did not. So
Uh-oh.
thanks for bringing that up. Did they already start it?
No, we are just sitting in the lobby.
Okay, sounds good.
Um,
Well, hopefully that will come through. But yeah, I mean, no, sorry, right, Chains. I think I cut you off.
no, no, no. I'll just send you all the information real
Sounds
quick.
good. I mean, yeah. So something else that's worth noting about this matchup, I already mentioned sort of the playoff implications that this matchup does have. So for Sensei Squad, right now they're currently sitting in 8th place, so they are going to have to bring themselves up in the standings if they do want to have a chance to make the playoffs. But with that being said, after this game or after this series, they have Grinchy Goons and Crosspoint Origin, who are the right now the weakest teams in terms of the standings. So this would really be huge for Sensei to start that sort of push for the playoffs if they are indeed going to get there. So even though if they lose tonight, they could still conceivably make playoffs, it would make it a lot easier if they're able to take this series.
Yeah, I mean, and like you said, a little bit of a more, I guess matchups against lower seeded teams going in here. If Sensei Squad is able to win today, it would definitely do a lot to propel them forward in the standings and just kind of give them a little more wiggle room just in case. They end up dropping a series or something like that in the next couple weeks. But either way, playoff implications are on the line here for a lot of these teams in the upcoming games. So definitely something to look forward to and something to look out for as we approach these next couple weeks before playoff starts.
Yeah, and as Sensei is sort of kind of still pushing to get the number of wins that they need, Shadowz, they have been kind of like I would say they've been almost sort of a dark horse so far in this Thursday conference. Even though they haven't been a team that's gotten nearly as much hype as somebody like a Horizon or a Goldfish Gaming, they have performed pretty consistently. Like I said, they have taken a lot of series to 3 games, but they are 4-2, and their 2 losses. One is against PGO, who, though they're very low ranked, we do know that they're a fairly capable team. They've just had kind of a coin flippy season, and then I believe their other loss is against Horizon. So neither of those losses is something to be too surprised or too sad about, I think. So if Shadowz can continue to win the series that they should, I think that they'll be able to finish out in that 3rd place spot that they've currently claimed for themselves. But you never know. Especially once teams sort of get on a losing streak, it can be hard to break that. And I know, like last season for CCS, we saw teams that had that tougher second half of the season schedule end up falling out of the playoffs. Oblivion, in particular, comes to mind. So you can never really fully let your guard down if you're Shadowz. And certainly, I think everybody learned after Sensei Squad was able to beat Horizon that you should particularly not let your guard down against this team, because even though they are not the highest rank, they definitely can come to play, and then they can compete with the best.
You can't sleep on the squad. That's all I gotta say. But we are finally now into this in client draft here, so we'll be getting these picks going as quickly as possible, hopefully, and then we'll be able to get into the game shortly here. But as you can see in the chat there, we do have a poll up. Who do you guys got in game one? You got Sensei Squad or Shadowz? Put your money on the line. It's time to bet. You have any predictions?
Um, Looking at these two team comps, I think that the one thing that maybe sticks out to me the most is the fact that this Talia went through for Frosty. I'm really excited to like. I guess my to give a prediction. I'll say I think as a result of getting that through, I think that kind of puts Shadows over the line in this particular game. But with that being said, we haven't actually seen Frosty yet. We haven't even seen exactly what he's capable of as a player. So.
Mhm.
I can't give like a super strong prediction one way or the other, but I'll say I think Shadows will likely take it. I think that I like the amount of CC that they have, especially on the top side of the map for this team. So if they're able to utilize that effectively, I think that it'll be able to take them over the line here. And most importantly for me, they're scaling on both sides, I guess, between the Jax and the Yone, definitely doing some scaling for Sensei Squad. But Kaisa for me is I guess it's kind of close between Jax and Kaisa, but for me, Kaisa is probably the most influential scaling champion in the game. So excited to, if Dirty Midmain can farm through the laning phase, which should be able to against Ziggs, even though Ziggs has that range, typically just trying to farm, I think he'll be able to get a lot of work done later in the game.
Yeah, you make some good points there. Here, I think we can't sleep on this Jax though. If this Jax is
It's
able to get
true.
ahead, I don't really see anyone on Shadows that's gonna be able to
Yeah.
effectively stop Jax in the side lane. I mean, yeah, Talia can just blow up the wave and stuff like that, but Renekton is gonna be in a lot of pain in this early, these early, I guess, levels like 1 through 6. And if Viego isn't up there to help Young Nats, I mean, I think this lane should just tilt in favor of Nikolals pretty severely. Like we mentioned a bit earlier, there's not that much AP coming out of, or not much magic damage at least coming out of Sensei Squad. You do have the Ziggs though, who I imagine will build Leandres and kind of go for like a burn build just because, just to maximize on that magic damage. Obviously, Yo and W does like a little magic damage, but it's not really worth mentioning here. But just to keep it interesting, I'll go Sensei Squad
Just to be a
just to buzz you.
contrarian.
Yeah, exactly. Because why not? Um, and we are here gonna be going into the spectator delay. And before we take a break, I gotta let y'all in on a little bit of a secret here. If you want to win your solo queue games, you gotta check out Pro Comps. Pro Comps is the first of its kind drafting tool aimed for competitive and solo queue play. ProComps allows the users live feedback, analysis on drafting, give you tips for your matchups, give you notes on, enemy picks, all that good stuff. It gives you win cons, gives you everything you got to do to climb up the ranks here, and it's definitely a key factor that you need to have. And you know what's good about the CCS and you watching here? We have a special code CCS25, and that's going to get you 25% off of your first 6 months using Pro Comps. So go get yourself some Pro Comps, and we'll be right back as we get on to the riff for game number 1 between Sensei Squad and Shadow. So don't go anywhere.
Everybody panic! Hold on! I'm about to say something really cool. 3, 41, 9, and lift off! No one dies screaming without me. I feel like I forgot to shoot something. You're starting to bore me. She's such a loser, always ready to cry. Ah, come on. What's the worst that could happen?
And we are on to the Rift for game number 1 between Sensei Squad and Shadowz. For Sensei Squad on the blue side, Nick Lulz on Jax in the top lane, Aquatic Bear on Jin Zhao in the jungle, Veneris on Yon in the mid lane, and Matrix Shadow and Stevicus rounding out the bottom lane with the Ziggs and the Rel.
And actually on the blue side is Shadowz with Young Nats in the top lane on the Renekton, Blue Shift on the Viego in the jungle, Frosty with the signature Talia in the mid lane. We got Kaisa from Dirty Mid Main in the bot lane, and Donell's girlfriend on the Morgana, and got some action.
A little fighting back and forth here as Aquatic Bear and Frosty gonna exchange pleasantries in that topside river. But for the time being, just some early vision set up here. You can see 2 wards coming out for the team on the red side, Sensei Squad. And 1 ward in exchange coming out for Shadowz. Either way, it looks like Shadowz is going to know where Aquatic Bear started. And, depending on how Young Nats plays it, we'll see if they give away that information as to where Blue Shift started. But both of these junglers starting on their bottom sides here, a pretty heavy leash, down to like 200. I'm surprised at that, but
yeah, I think that was a little bit heavy, given the fact that they were trying to hide the jungle start. But I think it is really, really important for Shadowz to know where Aquatic Bear is starting out, because I would really like to see Blue Shift anticipate these top lane ganks and actually, come in here for some kind of 2v2 counter gank. Because as I mentioned earlier, Nick Lulz already taking some really good trades here. Renekton does do best when he's working alongside his jungler, just with that really strong stun with the W. Is really, really good in those early 2v2s. So
Stevicus could be in trouble here as the Ignite ticking down already, and just first blood going over to Duanel's girlfriend.
Yeah, and Stevicus coming in as a sub at the support position, not respecting whatsoever the level 2. Obviously the Morgana level 2, once she's able to get that point in the queue, as well as usually the pool. Really, really powerful, and just not even really an opportunity. I mean, he could have flashed away from the binding, should have flashed away from the binding, but other than that, just dying early on, and not a good start as the sub, and not a good start to this lane for Ziggs, who really would just like to hang out, chill, and farm for the first large portion of the game.
Yeah, and I do just want to highlight here, Nicola was able to get that wave pushed in, take a cheater, and buy that longsword. So it's going to be really hard now for Young Nats to ever play this game, because you have to shove this wave all the way to the tower, otherwise you get a frozen. Aquatic Bear, though, was good.
So that is it's sorry to interrupt you. I mean, it is really good for the Jackson lane, but we will see sort of what the consequence of that is, which is ceding control of the top lane river to Shadowz. So Aquatic Bear not able to get over there and get the scuttle, and then also obviously not able to support with the gank, although the wave wasn't in the right place anyways. But it will be scuttles traded 1 for 1. But I think really for this Viego, such strong scaling as he looks into the top lane, I think that's a win. If you're Viego, I think that the early game you're probably a little bit weaker than Aquatic Bear, so I think he'll be happy to take that one. But bot lane looks like we could have a gank incoming as well.
I don't think there's any way that this gank should work, by the way. In the top lane, Aquatic Bear is going to be taking some damage here as the dragon's going to be spawning in about 45 seconds. And here we go. We're going to look for it here as a nice usage of the counter strike, but Blue Shift out of the bush going to deal some damage, and Nick Lulz under half HP does kind of have to just run away. And I mean, I do like the idea here. I take back what I said earlier in that this gank was not really, meant to get a kill or anything like that. It's just meant to get that wave all the way in so that Nick Lulz can't actually freeze it. So that's my bad. That's my bad.
Yeah, no, but I think you make a good point, though. I also think that, it wouldn't work out unless Nick Lulz opts into an aggressive trade, which he actually did. I feel like right there, Young Nats, the SU just got these heat-seeking bindings so far in the bot lane, but I think Young Nats could have probably played a little bit more aggressively there once he did bait the Jax to jump in, you know, kind of using that slice and dice to get away, even though his jungler's right there. So maybe could have taken advantage, but Niklaus did still have the flash available as well. But yeah, I mean, at the point, right, Chains, where you're already having to babysit Renekton through this early laning phase, which is kind of the one point in the game where he should theoretically be stronger than Jax, you're not really in a very good spot. But here comes another gank bot lane.
Dirty mid main has to run here. Nice usage to take away from that black shield, but Flash is already burned out. Flash stun comes through from Sivakis, and now Donell's under attack, but on the other side, Sivakis is going to go down. The Ignite's ticking down, and Aquatic Bear is taken really low as Matrix Shadow is throwing the bombs all over the place, but Dirty mid main's going to find one kill on the backside. The Flash stun comes through from Blue Shift, and now Matrix Shadow is next on the table. It is dinner time right now for Shadowz as they are eating in this bottom lane.
Yeah, and one of my win conditions for Shadowz was that, mid lane?
Veneris in the mid lane, Fate Sealed. Ooh. Not enough damage here. The Ignite's going to tick down onto Veneris into the top lane. Niklaus and Young Nats trading, but the flash for it into the Q. The shield comes through, and the Q3 from Veneris finds the solo kill. Huge play coming out from the Sensei squad mid lane.
Yeah, so lots happening there. Just a really greedy and over-aggressive play. Oh,
Niklaus under the tower flash.
He's dead?
Finds the stun, and the Triumph will keep the Jax alive.
Yeah, and Niklaus keeping himself alive and really impressive there. So right now we kind of have a tale of two sides of the map, right? Solo laners both picking up solo kills from Sensei squad, which is really what we kind of come to expect from their top side of the map being sort of their strength. But on the bottom side, on the other hand, one of my win conditions for Shadowz was that Dirty mid main would be able to get on a scaling pick and make it through the lane phase unscathed. He's going to do a lot better than that. Not only is he up 13 CS, but also has a kill, 3 assists to his name, and it looks like it will be probably that hybrid Kaisa build with the Collector and the Manamura, but then possibly building into some AP as well. A little bit of an interesting decision there, but you know, like we talked about in the Champ Select, lots of viable build paths on this Kaisa.
Yeah, you can. There's a lot of different ways you can go. We'll see where this ends up going here. As you know, this is what I was talking about here. Is if this Jax is able to get ahead, you know, Renekton has no hope. And if you look at the wave, it's pushing away. So Niklaus is going to just be able to hold this wave for an eternity and a half, and just deny Young Nats endlessly here. And maybe just going to look for a kill. Zadama's going to be popped. The stun comes through. Will force out the flash from Young Nats. On the other side of the map, the dragon goes down in favor of Shadowz, so at least the neutral objectives are in their favor right now, as well as the kills.
Yeah, but it's so bad for Young Nats right now. Like, as you pointed out, the wave, you know, he is going to be forced to teleport back onto this top side, but it just feels so bad because it's not like he's catching a wave under his turret with the TP. He's having to run all the way up here, expose himself as the wave's shoving in, just trying to get that one pushed into the turret, but Niklaus not even going to let it happen, and the Renekton has to respect this Jack such that he can just continue to freeze.
Here we go into the bottom lane we go here as the knockup's going to find one. The sun comes through and the Morgana is under siege. Whoa, that looks pretty interesting as the kill will be gifted over to Matrix Shadow. And Frosty's in this top lane to try and help out Young Nats. We'll see if Niklaus can actually go for this 2v1 here. As it looks like going to be caught in a rough spot. Counter-Strike is not going to find any stuns here, and a nice usage of the Talia abilities. Jack's ulti is popping now as the sun comes through. Fate Seal is going to be into the fray. Comes Veneris, and they're going to find one kill on Young Nats. Blue Shift is here as well, though, and now Niklaus could be in a rough situation. Going for the alcove in the middle of 2. As we're going to see what they can find. Counter-Strike is not going to buy enough time, and Blue Shift will find the kill. Now sitting 2-0 on this Viego.
Yeah, 2-0 for the Viego, but it is a 1-for-1 overall. So even though they're investing a lot of time to come up here, they're not going to have that much out of it. Veneris did go up as well, but is able to take this plate. Looks like Frosty trying to get some damage.
Oh my gosh, look at the damage coming through here as Veneris has to flash away. The Ignite is ticking, and the wall comes through. Frosty trying to find the damage, but Veneris uses the E and has to go back to that Shadow, so we'll just go down the shutdown. Given over to Dirty mid main.
Oh yeah, so yeah, and that's interesting. I mean, I think that's actually great if you're Shadows that you're able to snipe that one from the W. Not that it wouldn't be good to get Frosty with some kills as well, but as we've already mentioned time and time again, getting this Kaisa super strong is going to be the late game win condition, especially with the start that this Jax has been able to have. It's going to be really important for Dirty Midmain to be able to build up as many items as he can early on. And it is going to be the Rift Herald prioritized right now. Kind of interesting though, because the top lane is pushing in.
Yeah, we'll see what happens here. There's 2k health on the Herald. Blue Shift gonna find the stun on Stevie Kiss, but we'll see what happens here as the Herald goes over to Blue Shift and Shadowz. But likely will go over and pay his life there as the shutdown goes through to Matrix Shadow. And now we're gonna get a fight coming through. Donald's girlfriend could be in trouble here as the Black Shield gets instantly destroyed. Soul Shackle is not going to be enough to buy some time, and Aquatic Bear's going to find the kill. So far, 2 for 0 in favor of Sensei Squad as the kills have been evened up, but in this bottom lane, Veneris is getting slammed by Dirty Midmain on the Kaisa, trying to find the kill under the tower here. But we'll see, as Q3 is available now. Knockup for the Yone is deadly. But it looks like Dirty Midmain is going to back out, and maybe Aquatic Bear is in trouble here. You can see Young Nat's trying to look for this roam down, but I don't think it really matters. I don't think there's much that can happen. As Aquatic Bear should just be able to get out.
Yeah, and it looked like maybe for a second they were possibly looking to make a dive happen, but they just didn't have the wave pushed in. But now Blue Shift coming up towards this top lane will just be Sensei Squad backing off. The Rift Herald is available. So he could have potentially looked to drop that one if they had been able to make a kill happen, but not going to be the case, and they will sort of look towards the mid lane. And we do see an interesting swap here with the lane assignments, Chains. It will be Matrix Shadow being called into this mid lane pretty early. You know, typically we would expect the Ziggs to be changed into the side lane once the turret goes down. Usually you want to wait for that to happen first because of the ability that Ziggs has to, you know, take down the turret so quickly with his satchel, but it doesn't really seem like Dirty Midmain is having a problem right now farming. Against Veneris, we saw that he was winning that 1v1 even though he was 2 levels down. And now pushing into the mid lane for Shadowz, but nothing going to happen off of it.
Yeah, these lane assignments are a little bit strange, but I think it's just because of that Herald play and the way that the Herald play worked. There hasn't been like a really clean or, you know, obvious time to switch back. And because of that, you can see now Blue Shift making their way into this bottom lane with the Rift Herald and should be able to secure this tower actually for Shadowz.
They do, and they know that Aquatic Bear is on the other side of the map. They just spotted him on a ward, so this is definitely a safe move. And I wonder if part of the other logic for Sensei Squad in swapping there is, I think if Ziggs is sitting by himself, he just loses the 1v1 against Kaisa every time. Kaisa able to gap close against Ziggs really easily with the Killer Instinct and take him down, whereas Veneris should...
Oh, here we go. Play into the top lane here as Young Nat's under siege. Gonna have to flash away, use the Dominus to try to get away, but we'll trade 1 for 1 so far. As Aquatic Bear getting hit by this tower really heavily. Will not go down though, but the other side of the map, Blue Shift has been on top of these neutral objectives, securing the second dragon for themselves here, and now Veneris going in onto Donald's girlfriend. Fate Seal is going to be blocked out by the shield, but it doesn't matter because the Yone has too much damage. Gonna find a solo kill there, and now Blue Shift could be next on the table. Not going to get slowed up by Matrix, but either way, another kill going over to Sensei Squad, and is not really what you want to see, especially on someone like this Yone.
No, and yeah, I feel like the Yone has pretty much gotten fed off of gifts from Shadowz. You know, most notably, that first death from Frosty was definitely not necessary, but it seems like they kind of continue to push their advantage maybe a little bit too hard. And you know, Yone, another champion that, though I wouldn't necessarily say scaling is the word, I would definitely say snowballing really, really hard is the name of the game for Yone, and does kind of bring some of that sustained damage as well that the team is kind of otherwise missing without an AD carry, having Ziggs instead. So that's going to be key coming into the later stages of this game, and just continuing to dish out the punishment is Nick Lawls into this top lane. And once this turret eventually goes down, as there is a gank coming through top lane.
Yeah, we'll see what Nick Lawls can do here in this 1v2. Ultimate is not available yet for this Morgana, so it looks like... Yeah, you can definitely 1v2 here. No stopwatches either, but Dirty Midmain going to look for the 1v1. Yeah, I mean, and this is what you talked about here, is that Ziggs just has no chance in the 1v1. But Nicholas, does he have a chance in the 1v2? A nice bind will find the kill there, as the kill will be going over to Morgana, which is not the best situation, but nonetheless, you know, able to kill that Jax, take him down, and give Renekton some time on this tower.
And even when you're ahead, as Nick Laws, these are the mistakes that you can't make when you're playing a champion like Jax. And yes, he has tons of damage, and he has a good amount of longevity. Young Nats.
Aquatic Bear looking for Young Nats here as the teleport is going to be coming in from Veneris. Donal's girlfriend is here, as well as will use the Shoal Shackles, but Aquatic Bear is looking for so long. Young Nats can't get out with the slice or the dice, and now Duanel's girlfriend is in trouble here as Blue Shift's going to flash forward. The kill's going to go up to Matrix Shadow, but we're going to get some resets coming through here as Blue Shift takes the Jin's out body, and there's nothing you can do as Ziggs. But on the other side of the map, we are just fighting all over the place as Frosty's going to go down.
Yeah, just fighting everywhere. Honestly, sort of hard to keep track of everything that's going on. But at the end of the day, it does end up being 11 kills to 11, and it is about a little under a 2k gold advantage for the side of Shadowz. Both teams pushing down the turrets, but it will be the teleport, interestingly enough, coming through from Young Nats here. So we'll be able to protect that turret, even though Blue Shift got the one in the top lane. So the turret gold will be a lot of that so far, and so Shadow's taking a little bit of an advantage. And then, you know, again, yes, Nick Laws is scaling, but having a few hiccups here on the Jax, whereas things are sitting pretty for not only Kaisa, but also Viego, who will be really strong coming into the late game.
Yeah, and I mean, with the dragon spawning in a minute 30, this is sole point, you know, for Shadowz. So if you're Sensei Squad, you need to kind of be here and set up for this. You don't want to give soul point this early into the game, because that would lead for, you know, like a 22, 23 minute mountain soul. And, you know, you're kind of already having problems killing people like the Renekton, you know, consistently. Yeah, there's 4 deaths, but it's taken a lot of resources. And I think at this point, you know, it's gonna be much harder for Nicholas to actually win in the side lane. Yeah, he's gonna win, no doubt about it, but it definitely is gonna be a bit harder here. Matrix trying to get that kill on the tower with the satchel, but not enough damage yet.
Now he wasted the satchel.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it'll come up for this tower, but we'll see what happens now as Young Nats, you know, making their way into this bottom lane. A little bit of a lane swap coming through, and like you said, this Kaisa is so strong right now. You see that Manamune is almost fully stacked up. Once that comes through, you're going to be getting a lot of upgrades for that Kaisa. And Nashor's Tooth completed as well. So mid lane tower is going to fall. And Blue Shift and Frosty are also here. So this is going to be 4 members of Shadowz mid with this Rift Herald. This tower should go down, I'd imagine. But look at where Sensei Squad is. They're trying to wrap around and get a flank on the rest of the team. They also have instant track on this dragon here, which is spawning in 5 seconds. So we'll see. Of course, there's going to be a fight around this objective naturally, as it's a 3v5 so far initially here. This looks good. Now for Shadowz, as one goes down into the backlines already. Dirty Midman is jumping in. A double kill comes through for them. And now Aquatic Bear is taken really low. A few more autos would be enough from the Kaisa, and Veneris going in, getting hit by that W from Dirty Midman. Nicholas trying to find the front lines here. The snipe is wide just a little bit, and Nicholas is 1 HP again as Dirty Midman hunting for the kills right now. 5-0-3 on this Kaisa, and just like that, you know, it's a 2 for 2. But Shadowz is, or no, sorry, Sensei Squad is running for the hills. Aquatic Bear getting run up by Young Nats. We'll see if he can find the kill. No, he can't, but Blue Shift back onto this dragon. This is going to be so point. Oh, unless Veneris is in, he's going to find the kill onto Blue Shift here. Yeah, there we go. And just like that, with the TP coming through from the solo laners of Sensei Squad, this dragon, you know, looks to be there. Dirty Midman might not want to let that go here, but we'll get knocked up by that Q3. The root comes through, and Stevicus just kind of going in onto no one. The snipe is not enough damage to take him down, and now Stevicus just kind of in the middle of 4 members. Not the most favorable numbers for the Rel, but nonetheless, the dragon will go over to Sensei Squad in exchange for 1 kill.
Yeah, and I feel like so far this game is kind of a perfect illustration of why and how these are two, you know, of the more like middle of the table teams that are definitely strong teams, definitely playoff teams, you know, strong mechanical skill on both sides. We've seen players, you know, in this game make those mechanical plays or at least, you know, sort of go for them. But in terms of like the team play and communication there for Shadowz, they get that strong start off to the fight early, kind of illustrates the strong engage that they're able to bring through the Talia as well as the Renekton getting into the fight. But then after that, just spending so long chasing Aquatic Bear when they could have been assisting Blue Shift and picking up the soul point. So, you know, you see the positives in the team fighting that they did early on, but then, you know, the negatives in their inability to follow up.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could say that for both of these teams here as Nicholas going into Young Nats. As Blue Shift is in the area, though, the Mega Inferno Bomb is going to deal some damage, but Nicholas just can't win in the 2v1 anymore. He's not strong enough.
It's not
Satchel? Yes, there it is. As Matrix going to be able to secure that mid lane tower here. And
They're
still,
really
you know...
playing it on the edge with these satchels here.
Yeah, still, you know, this game with the objectives has been all Shadowz, and you can see right now they're onto this Baron already. 5 members strong here. Look at Veneris in the bottom lane, not going to contest this at all here, so it's going to have to be just a steal from Aquatic Bear. 2,000 health on the Nash. He has to go in. Wind becomes lightning. Could go for it. Go for it. Go for it. Go for it. Oh no! Instead, Dirty Midman is going to jump in and potentially just kill themselves. Okay. Yeah, there's 1K going over to Aquatic Bear. I don't, you know, okay.
I mean, okay, well, first of all, I guess I would have liked to see Aquatic Bear go in there, but with that being said, he might have just gotten blown up before he was able to get the smite off. Not really sure, but it was pretty low. With that being said, not sure if they would have been able to pick up the kill on the other side. And, you know, at the end of the day, 1K gold shutdown goes over to Aquatic Bear. Veneris does pick up a lot of farm as well as that tier 2 turret in the bottom lane. So, you know, all in all, yes, the Baron buff does go over, but outside of that, the gold lead isn't really going to shift very much. In fact, it looks like it's maybe even just a little bit lower here. So they do end up giving away quite a bit for the Baron. And this early in the game as well, taking the Baron, it's definitely nice, but how much will they sort of be able to use it, especially with the state of the waves right now from Sensei squad? They have managed to shove these waves in, so unless Shadowz is able to get some sieging done within the next couple of minutes, it might not necessarily be the most worthwhile Baron take, but we'll have to wait and see. Nicholas still greeting.
Yeah, we'll see what Nicola wants to do here as 3 members from Shadowz up into this top lane. Definitely, you know, Nicola has to be careful here. Aquatic Bears here on the hover. Just collected the fat stimmy from Dirty Midman. Frosty might be walking in. Nice usage of that pink ward there to, you know, kind of check the bush and gain some of that knowledge. Otherwise, you know, Aquatic Bear would have certainly just jumped in. But either way, taking a look at the game state right now, it's about a 2K gold lead in favor of Shadowz. They're up 1 tower, they're up 1 dragon, and they are wearing purple for the time being. We'll see what they can do. They haven't really been able to do anything with this Baron so far.
Yeah, and you know, during the draft, I think Chains, you brought up kind of the question of like who will be able to side lane eventually against Nick Lulz, and you know, while there hasn't really been an answer to that from Shadowz, the cross map or the team pressure on Nick Lulz has been able to make up for it. But Veneris has been another issue with this Yone being able to split push into the bottom lane and kind of, you know, being able to set that 1-3-1 up, because when we look at this gold lead, you know, we talk about how it's a little bit less than 2K. That's the difference between the mid laners alone, actually a little bit more than 2K. So at this point, it is going to be difficult for Frosty to be able to stand in the mid or in the side lane against either of these champions. So I would look for Sensei squad to just try to continue setting up at least one of their members split pushing, especially as they continue to deal with this Baron buff, and it's been effective for them so far.
Yeah. Shadowz hasn't been able to get anything with this Baron buff, and with this next dragon spawning in 10 seconds, it looks like Sensei squad is just going to look to give and try to get pressure elsewhere. You can see Nicholas on this top side, trying to push in that tower. And Young Nats has to kind of respond here, and the rest of the team, just 4 members strong mid lane, going to try to take this tower. Nicholas, nice usage of that counter strike to block out, but Fate Seal goes in, and it catches Dirty Midman, and Kaisa is dead. This mid lane tower is gonna die. The dragon is gonna go over, but let's see. Young Nats with the dominance pop here. Zarel's gonna burn the ultimate. Magnet Storm in. Veneris, how much damage can you do here? The Aquatic Bear is diving into the backline, trying to find it, but Frosty is doing a lot. Flash comes out from the Aquatic Bear, but can't find anything as a 600 gold shutdown is gonna go over to Frosty. Another shutdown goes over to Frosty. It's a triple kill for the what champion is that? Talia. Blue Shift finally gonna pick up the last kill there on Matrix Shadow, and just unfortunate there, you know, just kind of getting collapsed on. Didn't make the play quick enough, and you know, weren't able to take the tower and get out quick enough, and Shadowz was able to capitalize.
Yeah, and yet again, just sort of a lack of team fight coordination here. This time it comes out from Sensei Squad. So at the start of this fight, it looks really good for Sensei Squad because, you know, even if they're starting to lose it a little bit, they had Niklaus pushing up in that top lane, getting that split push pressure, potentially picking them up gold no matter what. But the way it ended up panning out, he didn't end up getting the turret for his team, so not picking up that extra gold, and also obviously didn't group. So it was a 4v5. Niklaus had the teleport available, and you know that these things will happen in a 4v5, right? When you're down an entire member. Yes, Young Nats has fallen behind a little bit in this game, even though the CS has managed to remain even. But Renekton's always going to have that strong team fight presence with the Dominus, having that zone control, able to stun individual targets as well. So the first pick coming out on Dirty Mid-Main looks really, really good, but that looks like it was all they had in the tank.
Here we go. Let's see what Niklaus has here. Another 1v2 situation. Trying to find out the Blue Shift. He's going to flash forward, find the stun, but is it enough damage? No, it isn't. As Blue Shift is going to find another kill onto Niklaus, and, you know, Niklaus is having a rough time this game. Yes, there's been a lot of jungle pressure, of course. You know, obviously there hasn't been any solo kills or anything for Young Nats, but, you know, either way, Niklaus is not as ahead as they should be here, and Veneris still pushing in that top lane, you know, gonna take that outer tower and give their team a 2-tower lead here. The gold is, you know, still about 2.5 in favor of Shadowz, and maybe gonna look for a bush here.
Yeah, it looks like they might try to look for a pick, but they are going to end up going back. And, you know, as we start to get deeper and deeper into this game, with the gold lead staying about the same, maybe getting a little bit bigger, but, you know, it starts to become less and less significant as these players do start to pick up all of their items. So, you know, I know early on, both of us were feeling really concerned for, there might be a fight.
Binding is wide. Shots. Yeah, but for the time being, nothing lands. And Dirty Mid-Main is just going to be firing off these Void Seekers, trying to find as much poke damage as possible. And the poke damage is hurting. Now 3 items completed on that Kai'Sa. All 3 abilities are now upgraded. So Kai'Sa is very, very strong. You know, this is the big power spike for this champ. Is this 3 item power spike with the Muramana. So we'll see what this next fight entails. And I mean, it is surprising to me that Sensei Squad lost so hard, but Dirty Mid-Main going in onto Veneris. Fate Sealed. Ooh, nice dodge out. Gonna go golden instead, and now Veneris in 1v4 as Frosty is gonna find Matrix on the back side of that team fight. So it's 2-for-0 now in favor of Shadowz. We'll see what they can do, how much they can push. The wave is not there yet, but there's not really much wave clear from Sensei Squad alive still. Dead. This tower should go down, probably in hip too.
They are going to be able to push in, and I just, you know, once again, I think the difference I see coming out through from these 2 team compositions is the engage that Shadowz is able to provide with the Talia coming in through the wall, or even as we saw Dirty Mid-Main just jumping forward with that killer instinct, which is something that is kind of unique to Kai'Sa being able to provide from that bot lane role. And I do like, though, that aggression from Dirty Mid-Main not sort of getting tripped up after he was picked off earlier, just knowing that he had the stopwatch available. He didn't end up using it when he got picked off earlier in the mid lane, but nice usage of it this time. And now it is the potential soul coming up here in 28 or 26 seconds. So there will be vision control coming through from Sensei Squad. They are going to have this inside track, and they have no choice really at this point but to fight over this one.
Yeah, you gotta fight here. This is the Mountain Soul for Shadowz, spawning in 10 seconds, and it is a hard fight, let me tell you. Frosty sitting on 3.5 items. Dirty mid main sitting on 4 items now with that Zhonya's completed there, just to buy a little more time and space with that extra armor.
Yeah,
and I mean, there's no contest here. The only contest is just the possible Mega Inferno Bomb, but Mountain Soul going over.
I mean, it kind of pains me because it's like, you know, it looks like they wanted to trade it for Baron, maybe like the way that Aquatic Bear was running, or at least threaten it, but the rest of the team just not on the same page. And so, you know, Veneris is down here. He's about to pick up this inhib turret, and Aquatic Bear's shadowing him as well. I don't know if they'll be expecting this, or if Young Nats will be thinking that this is the case. Because right now the inhib's down already for Sensei Squad, so I don't really know what you're getting here if you're Shadowz.
It's the 1v2 coming through here. Faith Field not going to find the mark here as Frost is going to flash out of it, but Young Nats is taking up so much damage. Aquatic Bear is taking so much as now Veneris is in the 1v2, not really going to win this one, and that's going to be a double kill going over to Frosty. But the inhib tower has been opened in this top side of the Shadowz base, but you know, I mean, it's just the Baron is going to be traded back over, and this is looking pretty bad. Even, you know, it's looking even worse now for Sensei Squad.
Yeah, it is. The gold lead has finally started to expand a little bit, as it is now about a 5.5k lead for Shadowz, and it does start to get super, super difficult here if your Sensei Squad is Stevicus. And, you know, I was going to say earlier, I talked about the kind of lack of engage on the side of Sensei Squad. Really, it needs to be the Rel, who's the one starting off these team fights if you want to force anything from Sensei Squad, which really they needed to if they were going to contest that dragon, which they just didn't end up doing because they weren't able to force a fight over it. So, you know, with a sub coming in, struggling a little bit maybe here with the coordination that they would normally have from the support role. And, you know, not kind of having all of those pieces that they need to at this point. But now, you know, both teams just sort of resetting a little bit. No objectives on the map for quite a while, but it is the second Baron buff for Shadowz, and I'd like to see them do a little bit more with this second one than the first.
I think they will be able to. You know, the gold lead has doubled since their last Baron buff. And just to go to that point, you know, I have not liked this Rel pick at all. I mean, it doesn't seem to have done anything besides just die in this game.
Yeah, I mean,
so,
what does Rel bring if not engage, right? Like, pretty much Rel, like, jumps in, right? Like, uses the Magnet Storm, or at least that's kind of the way that I think of it. In lane, not a very strong pick either. So, yeah, I mean, I agree. I think if you're not really doing that, what are you doing? But tough situation with a sub coming through, and these Ws, you know, this hybrid build of Kaisa for me, we might see a pick here. Oh my gosh. Yep. Yeah, is this just dead? Aquatic Bear is just dead here over the wall. Blue Shift is going and it's gonna find the killing spree on the Aquatic Bear. Yeah, and I mean, you know, this game should be closed out in the next minute or two. I think, you know, you have the Baroned up minions in this bottom lane. This bottom lane inhibitor is gonna go down here. Super minions crashing in the mid lane as well, and you know, it's looking like the curtains are gonna call soon for Sensei Squad in game 1 here, as the Nexus towers are under siege. The minions are wearing purple, and Veneris is going to get knocked back in. Will go golden to try to buy some time, but it looks pretty bad here. Magnet Storm is a nice engage, actually, from Stevicus, and we'll see if anything can happen. His Dirty mid main is going to go down as Veneris going to find the kill there. Mortal Shield always pops to try to buy some time here, and that's 2 down already. A double kill for Veneris. I mean, if that was there all game... I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off again. I mean, if that was their whole game, though, right? Like, they would be in a much better spot. Like, where was that? Like, at the Dragon or, like, several other times previously in the game. So, you know, don't want to give too much grief to one player or anything like that. There's definitely been mistakes, you know, by pretty much everyone in this game. It is a Plat League, after all. But, yeah, I mean, I guess, you know, this game is certainly not over. Especially in this current meta, we've seen a lot of, you know, crazy comebacks, even in professional play, but, you know, assuming that Shadowz is able to end this one out, I think that is kind of a nice thing to reflect on, honestly, if you're Sensei Squad. Like, you know, hey, if we can actually be a little bit more aggressive and start out these fights with some more priority, then we might be a little bit closer to the place that we want to be. But, you know, again, like I said, game is not over yet, and I think Sensei has done a really good job of controlling the wave state during this game. I feel like every single time I look at the map, the waves are really pushed forward. So Aquatic Bear, though,
could be in trouble here as Blue Shift going in. Does have Veneris here on the side, but it's going to be a little bit of action coming through. Donnell's girlfriend has to flash away to safety, but just going to get, almost one-shotted by Veneris, but now Dirty Midman going into the back lines here as the GA will be popped. We'll see if anyone else can come through. His blue ship's gonna miss the flash stun. And this could be trouble here. 4 members alive for Sensei squad, as opposed to the 5 for Shadowz. They're down 1 member, and they do have super minions in this bottom lane. Young Nats and Nicholas going at it yet again here, but Donald's girlfriend is back and will force the flash out of Nicholas. So can't get anything.
Nicholas needing to flash away, but once again, you know, they're not really able to take as much of an advantage of this pick as they would like to, because of the fact that just now are they being able to push the wave up into the base. Inhibitor available, so they are going to try to take that one.
Here we go. Aquatic Bear now has to go golden for the time being, as Nicholas still just running around in this top side.
Wasting a lot of time. I mean, he's pulling 2 members over, so this is making it like difficult to impossible
Oh my
for
gosh.
Shadowz to be able to actually, you know, make anything happen with this inhibitor. So
Nicholas now might be able to go down here, doing a lot of damage, but you know, Young Nats will be able to secure that kill, and you know, for the time being, Sensei squad stays alive, but this Elder Dragon is spawning now. Nicholas has TP, but the Dragon's going to be gone way before anyone from Sensei squad can even get there. Oh, TP's coming in. Here we go. This could just be int, though. I think this is actually really int here, as the Dragon's going to go over. Yeah, and Matrix is just going to die immediately. Veneris looking for the Fate Seal. He's going to find 1 on the backside. Dirty Mid not going to go down there with that killer instinct shield, and a double kill comes through for Frosty, and this should be the game here. 2 members alive for Sensei squad, as the entire team of Shadowz just gonna be running into this base here, gonna secure this mid lane inhib. The towers of the Nexus will fall pretty immediately here, as they are wearing the Elder Dragon buff. And I mean, yeah, Nicholas is up, but 3v5 still not good numbers here, especially into Elder, but they're gonna have to try. Aquatic Bear going in, trying to buy some time. Wind does not become lightning on that side of it, and yeah, we'll just go down there on the other side of the fight. Stevicus will fall as Frosty goes legendary, and the Nexus will fall next, as Shadowz is going to take game 1 of the series.
Shadowz, they definitely didn't look pretty, but they are able to get it done at the end of the day. What matters is that they get a W in the win column for game 1, and, you know, we felt really concerned early on for in the top lane here for Young Nats falling behind this Jax. You know, how is this scaling going to go? How are they going to match him in the side lane? And even to the last minutes of the game there, Nick Lal certainly had a lot of pressure, but at the same time, I do have to give it to Young Nats, because he was still able to, as we said, do what this Renekton is supposed to do, right? Provide that stun, provide that team fight presence. Even honestly, even though he was requiring some assistance from other members of the team, be able to some extent match this Jax in the side lane, so it's not just a, you know, completely free push. And so, you know, I think that that's nice for Young Nats to have that amount of mental fortitude, and then the rest of the team to be able to get it done. Dirty mid main scaling strong, has so much damage on that Kaisa by the end, but also Frosty had that misstep in the solo death early on, but at the end of the game, 10 kills, 3 deaths. He was sporting 1,000 or 1K bounty. So all in all, pretty okay performance for his first time on the team.
Yeah, definitely, you know, just to your point, just want to highlight Young Nats there, being able to stem that bleeding really, really hard in a lane that is really, really bad. So definitely good job there. And, you know, the rest of Shadowz played pretty well, able to close out that game with the Elder Dragon. We'll see if they'll able to take the series into old fashioned, or will Sensei squad be able to push it to a game number 3. We're going to take a short break, but we'll be back soon for the draft of game number 2 between Sensei squad and Shadowz. So don't go anywhere.
Everybody panic. Hold on.
All right, here, and we are back now for the pick ban of game number 2 between Sensei Squad and Shadowz. We got a Shadowz. We got a side swap here, as now Sensei Squad will be on the blue side, and obviously, that first ban has got to be the Talia.
Yeah, it is going to be the Talia. I said that would probably be the straw that breaks the camel's back in game one, letting that one through, kind of that lack of research or maybe just general disrespect. So it will be taken away, as, it was Shadowz taking that game one and wanting to kind of put Frosty to the test on another pick here in the mid lane. But we are seeing the Jace taken away again. That is another takeaway from Young Nats from Nick Laws. And, speaking of Nick Laws, on the Jack's last game, did take those early game advantages, and I would like to see them build on that next game, getting Nick Laws onto another carry pick, but hopefully he can learn from some of the over-aggression that he displayed in game one and be a little bit more effective, but we'll have to see what remains open. Shadowz will have the opportunity to potentially counterpick that top lane, but Nocturne, kind of an interesting ban coming through, as well as the Jinx. So we'll see what Sensei Squad wants to take here. I mean, again, that early game jungler makes sense to me, and also, taking it away from the side of Blue Shift as well would be good, but we'll see.
Pick Hecarim. No. Oh my goodness. Okay. Ezreal is the first pick for Sensei Squad. Quite an odd first pick, I'll add. I don't think Ezreal's a champ that's widely first picked at all, or even needs to be first picked.
No.
But nonetheless, that is the angle that Sensei Squad goes for, and it's going to be matched by a Seraphine on the other side. And yeah, I mean, Seraphine Olaf is pretty solid combination there. But yeah, like I said, this is what I wanted the first pick to be, the Hecarim.
No. Yeah, and I agree. I mean, I think Hecarim is probably the strongest, or arguably at least the strongest jungler in the game right now, in terms of the fact that he is able to provide a lot of engage, which I know I've been emphasizing a lot with the onslaught of Shadowz, something that we saw Goldfish take advantage of strongly last game. But, going back again to this Ezreal first pick, not only am I kind of confused as to the priority, right? Ziggs was still open. That's what Sensei Squad played last game, and I really didn't feel like that was the issue for them. Ziggs pretty much did his job with the wave clearing, and I think was a big part of why they were able to stall out that game. But with the Yuumi lock-in, I feel like it means that they were probably, kind of having this combination in mind, possibly, wanting to do Ezreal, Yuumi. So we'll see. Ezreal Yuumi, I guess in the past was thought of as sort of this really strong bully lane. I remember last season, I feel like Chains, you weren't very big on it. So I can imagine that you probably feel similarly at this point.
Oh my gosh, that's worse. Double Enchanter bottom lane for Shadowz.
And particularly, sorry, because I know I just asked you what you thought of it, but I'm just going to insert my opinion one more time. With the double enchanter, being able to heal through poke as one of the best things that it kind of provides, especially as Sona and Seraphine start to get some of those items and levels in the tank, I think that negates a large amount of what Yuumi Ezreal brings to the table.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. I think I don't like either of these bottom lanes.
Could be Seraphine mid still, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean it could be, but I mean personally I would have liked a Van pick into Ezreal or even Jhin. I mean, both of those champs are just so free into Ezreal. You get a free lane, you can just farm with Jhin. You do a lot of damage. You just can scale until you get 3 items, and same thing with Vayne. So I would have liked either of those AD carries for Shadowz, but I mean, there's still hope, right? It still could be Seraphine mid. But I doubt it. I mean, either way, obviously you can see that now Shadowz is trying to index into this Hecarim as much as possible, right? They're picking the double supports. They want this Hecarim to be their carry. And, obviously we're in the second phase of bans here. Just taking away solo laners. Oh, they're listening to me, dude.
I mean, yeah, I mean, you're right. Obviously, as a degenerate AD carry main, you would know. But Vayne does have that really, really strong 1v1 into Ezreal. But with that being said, there's definitely other AD carries that do well against Ezreal. Also, I mean, really anything that Lucian, I think would all be while not as strong of scaling as something like Vayne, does kind of have that ability to just, I think, out DPS Ezreal until the later stages of the game, unless Ezreal's hitting, every single skill shot. Lucian also kind of rising in priority and is technically like definitely is another flex. We've been seeing a lot more Lucian top starting to come back into the meta, and even Lucian mid, as he did recently get some buffs. So once again, Shadowz kind of playing some games with these flex picks, and it's going to be up to Sensei squad to take their best guess as to where things will be going.
Yeah, I think Lucian's a good matchup into Volibear, if I'm not mistaken. If it's taken top, I'm pretty sure Lucian is good into Rise as well, just based off of the fact that Lucian's an early game champ and Rise is not an early game champ. So definitely can punish a lot in that mid lane if given the opportunity. But yeah, still Shadowz playing close to the chest here, not giving up too much of their composition. At least with this mid and with these solo lanes and even support, or even the bottom lane. But Camille is going to be the blind pick for Sensei squad, and I think this could get punished really hard with like a Jax or something if Young Nats wants to just play the Jax into Nicholas and kind of show him how it's done.
Yeah, definitely Camille has a lot of volatile matchups. In past metas before she received as nerfs. She's still a really strong champion, but when she was kind of like the top tier of the top lane, she could is a little bit more blind pickable. But just like you said, right, Chains, you called it. There's the Jax, and even though Nick Lawls had was picked off quite a few games or quite a few times last game, it was really just because of some over aggressive decision making. He showed us early in the lane that he definitely has the level of mechanical ability, that laning ability to be dominant against or wait, no, I got it mixed up. Young Nats is the one on the Jax this time, so it's swapped.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking right. But anyway, so we saw that in particular Nick Laws had that mechanical ability. So we'll see if he's just feeling comfortable, I guess, on this Camille. Maybe I do think that this matchup can go either way if the Camille does play it correctly, but I think that it's a little bit harder for Camille.
This is like the classic counter matchup into Camille is the Jax because you can just E her Q and that's all of her damage. But obviously anything can happen here. And I think even if it goes really south in this top lane, like if somehow Nicholas is able to get super ahead on this Camille, I don't think it really matters that much just because of the fact that Shadowz is just indexing into this Hecarim, right? They're not really going to be giving that many resources top. At least I don't think they will. Yeah. So they're not going to lose out on that much if the Camille gets ahead. And they have ways to deal with the Camille, with the double support ultimates that they have and just the sustain that they have, quite frankly.
Yeah, and to touch on the jungle matchup this time, we've talked about how we think Hecarim is this really strong pick. Definitely brings a good amount of scaling to the table as well, especially in comparison to some of the builds that we used to see on Hecarim. And we'll see what Blue Shift decides to go with this game. But no matter what, Aquatic Bear this time will have a little bit more of an early game advantage. I think Volibear, in my opinion, is one of the strongest early game junglers just because he has that stun coming out early. Really all three of his basic abilities super strong, whereas Hecarim, that level 3 in particular, whereas Hecarim really wants to get to that level 4. You always want to take 2 points in Q to help out your sort of jungle clear. So Aquatic Bear, he is going to have, hopefully this time, more opportunities. Last game, we saw Shadowz doing a really good job controlling that top side of the river and preventing any pressure towards top. So we'll have to see if Sensei squad can adjust and shift their jungle pathing or maybe just shift their strategy to be able to make it go a little bit better this time.
Yeah, we'll see what happens here. As we see now, the solution has been locked in the mid lane for Frosty, and it's going to be the double support bot lane for Dirty Midman and Donell's girlfriend. Honestly, I like it. I like the Lucian going mid. You're going to be able to punish this Rise really, really hard on this Lucian pick. And it also makes I think it makes your mid 2v2 or mid jungle 2v2 better because you actually have damage. But you're losing out on some of that CC and sustainability. But I think either way, the mid jungle 2v2 is definitely in favor of Shadowz here. But also just you were mentioning about the jungle matchup here. Hecarim is known for being one of the quickest clearing junglers in the game, and I know that it's pretty common to see, a 310 or a 315 full clear on this champ being able to get up into the top side. I mean, I guess we'll see where they start, but either way, if Blue Shift can get up to this top lane and just kind of tip the scales even further for young Nats, I mean, it could be disastrous for Nichols.
Yeah, and I do, I agree with you, and you're totally right about like the speed of the jungle clear. So I'm not, I don't think Hecarim's kind of weak in that sense. Like it's not kind of in the sense where the enemy jungler can invade him early. That's not going to be an effective strategy for Aquatic Bear. But I feel like more so for me, it's that the CC isn't as reliable for Hecarim early game until you're getting your ultimate, because it's kind of hard to find those angles otherwise unless people are really far pushed up. So certainly that can happen though, and it's like you said, right? Chains, if it's a counter ganking situation, that sort of changes everything. But going into the mid lane as well, with Ryze taking or with Veneris taking the Ryze, something we haven't touched on quite as much. And I think that Ryze for me is one of those champions that is a lot better in competitive than it is in solo queue, what with using the realm warp, but also I think it's kind of a really, for me, I think it's a difficult champion to pull off. You have to hit your combos pretty effectively in order to trade well on this pick, especially with the short range that it's going to bring into something like Illusion. So interested to see if Veneris can stay even in this lane, and if he can use that Rune Prison to set up Aquatic Bear on the ganks.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting, because like I said, Veneris is going to have a tough time in this early game, just due to the fact that Lucian is going to be much stronger for the first for the first like 6 level. I mean, honestly, the first like 11 levels. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see here what happens. Did you have something else you wanted to say?
No, I know we can throw it to the break.
All right,
Well, actually,
cool.
no. I gotta give my prediction. I'll predict Shadowz again. Generally, just put it on the record before we go to the
Okay.
break. That's it.
I mean, I think the roster or the lineup from Shadowz is just, it's very conducive to putting all their eggs in the basket, in the Blue Shift basket. So if Blue Shift gets ahead, it's going to be a Shadow win. And if Blue Shift doesn't get ahead, I think it's much easier for Sensei Squad to play the game. They have a lot more options when it comes to who they want doing their damage and all that good stuff. So I mean, I think it go either way. It's just going to depend on how well Blue Shift does in the early game. That's my prediction. Don't forget, get your predictions in here. Use them channel points. Vote it up. Tell us who you guys got in game number 2. We're going to take a short break for this competitive integrity spectator delay, but we will be on to the Rifts shortly for game number 2 between Sensei Squad and Shadowz, so don't go anywhere. And we are back onto the riff for game number 2 between Sensei Squad and Shadowz. On the actual blue side this time, we got Sensei Squad. Nicholas in the top lane on the Camille, Aquatic Bear on the Bear, Volley Bear in the jungle, Veneris on Rise in the mid lane, and Matrix Shadow and Stevicus rounding it out with the Yuumi and the Ezreal.
And as Aquatic Bear goes in for the ward on the other side, we do have Shadowz who are able to win game 1. Young Nats in the top lane on the Jax. Blue Shift has the Hecarim in the jungle. We got Frosty on the Lucian in the mid lane. And then in the bottom lane, we have Seraphine and Sona being played by Dirty Mid Main and Donell's girlfriend. So those are the lineups we see. And just like last game, we are going to see kind of a very similar setup, which is that both teams do go in really kind of forcing these wards, as we see Dirty Mid Main walking over a ward himself. And then we saw Aquatic Bear being willing to take a little bit of punishment from Frosty to get that ward onto the red buff of Blue Shift. So both teams will have knowledge this time around of where the junglers will start. And, we talked enough about first game of how impactful we thought that would be, and we're going to see that being impactful again this time. So the ward will be swept out for the blue side here for Sensei Squad, but still Aquatic Bear was already spotted, so the damage is done in that regard.
Yeah, both of these junglers starting on their bottom side is kind of what we expected here. You want to get up into this top lane and try to do some stuff and some things. Interestingly enough, Seraphine does have the tier in this lane, so Sona's going to be rocking with the support item. And just like this, Young Nats is going to be going after Nicholas and trading a few autos back and forth here.
Yeah, and you talked about level 2.
Oh, level 2.
So it is going to be a nice trade. Nicholas does have the Ignite, so definitely can try to look for these 1v1s that he was also looking for last time. And as there's some trading down here in the bot lane, it looks like just sort of some aggression on both sides of the map, as it will be mid lane pushed in as well. So Matrix Shadow definitely taking a lot of punishment. Both of these lanes have a substantial amount of healing, obviously, as we do see a gank mid lane that we're not seeing.
Yeah, Frosty is just going to be able to walk out of that. And I'm really surprised that, Nicholas didn't full commit on that level 2 here. Stevicus going to get rooted up, cannot attach anymore. But Matrix is just doing so much damage on the backside of the play, and the Shadowz bot lane can't really regress further.
And as Aquatic Bear sits here trying to maybe camp out for a gank here in the mid lane, he has really erred on the side this time around of trying to make something happen for particularly Veneris, but it does come at the cost of a lot of farm. We can see that he just went, looks like buff to buff, and then took the Gromp. So even though he's going to control this Scuttle, will be pretty substantially put behind this Hecarim, who's already able to take a recall, pick up the Sheen, and come back out for his second clear, and probably it looks like grab that Scuttle.
My gosh, Veneris flashing in to find the root onto Frosty, and we'll see if Aquatic Bear goes for more. As no, just gonna be a flash burn by Veneris, and Frosty's just throwing up some missing pings.
Yeah, and Aquatic Bear.
Here we go, as we're gonna get a 1v2. Aquatic Bear just running in to 2 members, and first blood is gonna go over to Frosty.
Yeah, and I don't, we saw that Aquatic Bear was pinging Veneris to come assist him, wanted to get something out of his early pathing by denying the second Scuttle Crab away from Blue Shift. But even though it seemed like Veneris had the wave pushed up and should have had priority over Frosty, does not choose to rotate, was sort of low on mana, so that might have been part of the reason. So just some miscommunication. Aquatic Bear maybe thinking that his mid laner would have been there to back him up when he isn't, and so that's why he just ends up sort of looking silly. Honestly, at the end of the day, the death for the Sensei Squad jungler. So big first blood is going to go into the hands also of Frosty, as you mentioned. So already has this strong matchup with the Lucian going into the Rise, and will be able to snowball that one even harder.
Yeah, things get really scary right now if you're Veneris, because you're looking at a Lucian that has a Noon Quiver at 5 minutes, and that becomes quite scary there, I would say, especially if you're playing a scaling champion like Rise. So we'll see what Veneris can do. Last game it was Young Nats who had to stem the bleeding in the game. This time it's looking like it's gonna be Veneris, so
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah, and for Veneris too on this rise, just really, really short range champion. So needs to walk up super, super close to take these minions, and that's going to allow Frosty to punish on really every single CS. And then with Rise also going back, first build the tier. I mean, of course you're going to do that as Rise, got to build up that mana for later in the game, but it just really feels bad in terms of your ability to fight against this Lucian in this early to mid part of the game, and with this wave priority in the mid lane as well as the bot lane being forced back from Sensei Squad, it is going to be the first dragon already started up and likely taken from Shadowz. But top lane,
Yeah, Aquatic Bear is trying to make something happen here as Young Nat's going to get the stun, but Young Nats has to try to flash away to safety. Hookshot's going to find a mark here, and this should just be a dead Jax as Young Nats is going to go down, and Niklaus will get credit for that kill in the top lane.
and it's close as Niklaus going extremely
Oh.
low.
Oh, a nice
Right.
usage of the Arcane Shift there by Matrix to, sort of buffer that Hecarim E. But
Yeah.
Plates in the bottom lane.
Got to have that discipline to wait until the E comes in to be able to use that arcane shift to get away. So nice job there by Matrix Shadow. But it is this double enchanter bottom lane. It has had the Ezreal Yuumi pretty pushed in, which makes sense. Seraphine does have a good amount of wave clear, but
Aquatic Bear now could be in trouble. The Flash is going to be up in a few seconds, but we'll see if Young Nats is going to follow through. Flash is now available here as Aquatic Bear has to run for the hills. Like 2 more autos would be enough, but the presence of Nikolai is enough. Now Frosty looking for a trade onto Veneris. Actually traded back relatively evenly. Frosty kind of tanked a lot of damage from the minions here, but maybe a dive opportunity bot lane as Blue Shift is taking away the red buff from Aquatic Bear. And this bot wave is pushing in now.
it definitely, once the level 6s come in for bottom lane, it'll be easy dives for sure. Just so much CC between Seraphine and Sona. Basically 2 versions of the exact same champion down here into the bottom lane, but they don't have the level 6s yet, so instead it is Blue Shift just taking advantage of it by stealing away some of the jungle of Aquatic Bear, and he does find himself pretty far ahead as Frosty taking a turret shot after dropping the ignite, but Veneris is going to be pushed out of lane.
Will be killed there as the onslaught of Shadowz comes through from Blue Shift, finding Veneris in between the towers here, and now Blue Shift just wants more. Blue Shift wants to get as much as he can out. Okay. Interesting usage there of the culling, but
Zoning culling.
yeah, zoning for sure. But either way, Blue Shift is just trying to maximize their lead as much as possible here, taking away all the camps or at least 2 camps in the bottom side, trying to find more in the top side of Aquatic Bear's jungle, and sitting at 4 camps up right now.
Yeah, he is, but then also if you look at it, I mean, maybe Aquatic Bear is going to come over here and try to contest the blue side jungle, but with Hecarim just having so many camps left up remaining, he should have even kind of a larger lead than we see on the board right now. But Aquatic Bear is going to be using the Yuumi and the Ezreal to come try to take away the blue buff, but Blue Shift, he might try to have something to say about this, not sure.
Yeah, we'll see what happens here. Is that, like you said, the blue buff is going to be given over to Aquatic Bear, but Dirty Mid Main is in. The Encore is wide right. But either way, the root is true onto Aquatic Bear. Final chapter is going to buy some space as Aquatic Bear is going to use the ultimate to try to get away. The root again. Just a little bit wide, and the damage comes through, but it is not enough. 1 HP from Dirty Mid Main, and now Veneris is flashing away. Exhaust ticking down here as Veneris could be in trouble. The Yuumi heals are enough to save the Rise's life, and everyone lives somehow in that bottom lane river play, and Young Nats is just in a world of pain right now as Nicola is just gonna go under the tower and dive, just take the lane so easily.
Yeah, counter matchup or not, Nikolal showing that he just is the better 1v1 top laner out of the 2. Obviously was the beneficiary of the gank early on, but so for Sensei Squad, even though it's not looking good overall, it is fairly similar to last game where there do still exist some win conditions for this team. They have the Camille split push, and even though there were kills coming through on the bottom side, we've seen Matrix Shadow being able to continue to lay down some of this damage and the healing that this Yuumi is able to come through with. And thinking about the scaling scaling. You know, I was mentioning in between the games how strong the scaling is with this double enchanter comp, alongside the Jax as well. But thinking about the scaling from Yuumi too, Rychains, you know, this is regarded as one of the hardest, probably the hardest scaling, like, support champion at the very least in the game, and does become more and more difficult to deal with as we get later on. And with the Ezreal being sort of a slipperier AD carry, I guess I would say, than typical, it might be difficult to kill him as we get through the game. So we'll have to keep an eye on that.
Yeah, Sona, like you said, Sona is a super heavy scaling support just because of the fact that you have so much you get cooldown reduction based on how much you use your abilities and hit enemies with your abilities. And you know, eventually Sona just becomes kind of like a machine gun where you can just spam your abilities. It's hard to run out of mana because you build a lot of mana items, and you know, especially with that tier and all of that sort of thing. You can already see that the executioner's, or sorry, Oblivion Orb is picked up there by Donel's girlfriend. But either way, you know, neutral objective is going to be traded on this, or on the map here, as the dragon will go over to Shadow. Yeah. And the Herald will go over to Sensei Squad. With Matrix going in here, gonna use the ultimate as the lost chapter, or final chapter. Is gonna find one kill there with the stuns, and now Blue Shift is going in, gonna get one kill onto Matrix Shadow. But it is a buy one get one free special, as the Yuumi has nowhere to go, and a double kill for Blue Shift.
Yeah, so even though that first pick comes through for Sensei Squad, doesn't end up being worth it at all. Not only is it a 2-for-1, but also picking up a lot of this plating onto the bottom side. Blue Shift continuing to get strong. I know that you kind of laid that down as one of the major win conditions, Rychains, is getting this Hecarim ahead. And, you know, here at 12 minutes into the game, even before Blue Shift picked up those 2 kills, already has the Divine Sunderer as his core item picked up there. So Blue Shift should be able to go back, probably picking up, I would imagine he's got enough money, yeah, looking at it, to pick up the tier 2 boots. So probably we'll get that one next, as Hecarim benefiting from that hugely. And yeah, I mean, this Hecarim's going to continue to be a menace. And, you know, I mentioned that it could be difficult to kill Ezreal. I mean, if you've got a Hecarim running onto that backline, then like he did there, and like he should be able to continue to do with the resources, then that's not going to be an issue.
Rift Herald spawned in this top lane to just try to make matters as bad as possible for young Nats here, and get Nick Lulz as much gold as possible. Has the 2 kills, and now going to be able to secure that tower gold with some of the plates. So Nicholas is feeling really strong here, up 39 CS, and the lead is yeah, the lead is massive. I mean, it's a 2,000 gold lead. That's the biggest gold lead on the map for any individual player, and you know, this Camille could be a problem in this game.
Yeah, you know, it could. I mean, you know, and Nick Lulz showed us last game how he can be a problem, using the Jax to be able to pull multiple members of Shadowz over to his side of the map and give his team the advantage in the team fights. But with that being said, you know, we do have to give credit to Shadowz. They didn't allow the Jax to take over the game, but Frosty...
I mean, this is just the power of the Camille here. Just engaging from 2 screens away with the hook shot and Hextech ultimatum, and Frosty had no chance.
Yeah, and talking about, again, just this matchup between Camille and Jax, for me, another one of the, something that comes off as advantage Camille for me, even if she doesn't get ahead.
Aquatic Bear now looking onto dirty mid main, as Nicholas trying to get in as well. Encore's gonna find the charm onto 1, but dirty mid main just gonna go down, and the final chapter is still available, so now you're gonna get a second one as well. Nicholas goes on a rampage, now sitting at 4-0 on this Camille.
Yeah, and Sensei Squad saying not so fast. We're kind of counting them out of this game, but they are not ready to be counted out, as Nick Lulz grouping up with the team and illustrating what I was just about to say, which is that for me, Camille plays with the team a lot stronger, but Frosty, he's going to be in trouble.
No, Frosty has to clear this wave ASAP.
Sorry, bud.
But I don't think you can. 4 members diving in onto him. Going to get stunned up here, as Veneris is going to get the credit for the kill. And oh no, if you're a Shadowz fan, you're sweating right now.
Yeah, and so, yeah, I mean, Frosty, he was able to pick up those early advantages, got like that free first blood basically onto Aquatic Bear. In terms of it didn't really affect his ability to lane, didn't really miss out on anything because of that. But now somehow has fallen behind in XP. You notice that he was level 10, even though, and Veneris is level 11. And then the other thing that's kind of interesting is, typically in past, we would think of this meta as, Lucian is always going to have that really strong damage and probably able to just kind of burst out the Rise. But now with the Rise build really going towards this tank build, and Rise feels really comfortable building this large amount of armor. And, I am curious to see whether or not that's going to affect Frosty's ability to dominate the 1v1 as we move later into the game.
I think it definitely will, and because Rise is a champion that can build resistances and still do just as much damage just based on how the passive works. So it's very interesting how the champ works, and I know that there was a little kind of trick that I was seeing earlier was if you take water walking. I'll talk about it in a little bit though, as Nicolas going in and just absolutely destroying the supports here. They have no chances. Encore is going to find 3. That's a pretty big Encore, and we'll see if the rest of the team can come through as the onslaught shot is going to find the fear onto 4, and this could be the opportunity to kill Matrix. That's the flash with the wall to safety. We are going in. Young Nat's going to flash in, find the stun onto 1, as Frosty will get the credit onto Aquatic Bear. 4v4 right now, as there is no jungler available for Sensei squad, and that means that the dragon is going to be priority to Shadowz. This is going to be their infernal soul point, and we're kind of seeing history repeat itself here.
Yeah, absolutely. And, talking about history repeating itself, Young Nats once again losing in the 1v1, but when it counts, taking the TP into the mid lane to assist his team, using that utility that the Jax is able to provide with the stun, and that ends up being enough to get his team over the line. So even though he is really, really behind in the 1v1 matchup, has been able to pick up enough CS to remain impactful, and also just really, really well timed for Shadowz on that engagement, because it allowed them to translate it into the 3rd dragon of the game, setting up a potential early Infernal Soul for the side of Shadowz.
Still, Blue Shift sitting 3-0-2 here on this Hecarim. Very, very strong, but, Nicolas is very massive in this game as well, and if any member of Shadowz is alone, you're going to get instantly one-shotted by this Camille. You have the Triforce now. Titanic, or Hydra is going to be coming on the way. Probably, actually don't know which one it'll be.
I'm not sure if it's Ravenous or Titanic in this matchup. I feel like it's maybe Ravenous. But, either way, the Tiamat, even on its own, just allows Nicolas to control the wave a lot better, and that's what he really wants to do at this point. Yes, he can beat the Jax really hard in the 1v1, but as it stands, he's really been the one the ringleader to start these fights, so he's going to want to push in and look to probably roam sometimes, I guess. Right now, not what he's looking to do, obviously, but I don't think he's yet at the point where he can dive the Jax, but he might try to prove me wrong, especially based on the last game.
Yeah, and this is a big wave here that could have definitely been an opportunity there, and just going back to the point of, can Frosty match this in the side lane? Obviously, we're seeing absolutely not. The damage coming out of this Lucian is doing almost nothing to the Rise, but here we go. Onslaught of Shadowz in as Matrix is under attack. Oh, they catch the Yuumi, and Yuumi should go down here as the shutdown goes over to Blue Shift. Aquatic Bear next on the table. A few more autos should do it, but the Stormbringer rather, is going to keep him alive for the time being. Young Nats now could be in trouble as Nicolas looking for a hookshot under the tower. There is no counterstrike available as the Hextech Ultimatum is going to lock him in place. One more tower shot is not enough damage, and Nicolas gets away with that solo kill. Whoa. Got so really, really low there as the Herald is started up now by Shadowz. And there's really no way that you can contest right now if you're Sensei squad, because you just don't have the numbers.
No, they don't have the numbers to be able to contest, but we'll be able to get that kill into the top lane and continuing to build that lead, because eventually Nicolas will be strong enough that he's not going to have to be afraid of diving. Obviously was even right there able to dive, but not able to continue the push after that because of the low health bar. So it's just going to get stronger. Jax will continue to scale too, but at the rate that it's going here for the Camille, is a little bit stronger. And, you know, Camille also in a different way, but does have that really, really strong scaling, especially in the split push with the amount of damage that she's eventually able to do to the turrets with her Q and just her general ability to shove the wave with the Tiamat, as I mentioned before. So checking in again on the gold lead, though, it is just a 400 gold advantage over to the side of Shadowz, so we do still have an exceptionally close game here with both teams having taken down 2 turrets. But the biggest kind of advantage for me right now, if you're Shadowz, is those 3 dragons that have been picked up, 110 on the next one. And, you know, just as important as the potential of the soul is also the ability to manipulate the team fights, because Shadowz, they don't have to fight, they're not forced to fight over these dragons, but they certainly can try to force fights if they choose to do that, or, you know, potentially try to trade a Baron. So they're in the driver's seat once these objectives spawn again.
Definitely, and you know, 45 seconds on this Infernal Soul, potentially for Shadowz. We'll see if they're able to make it down, you know, and gain control of this river. Like we said already, Sona and Seraphine are super strong in the team fight. They're able to sustain for so long if given the opportunity to stay alive. And we'll see Young Nats and Nicholas going at it here, as Matrix Shadow now could be in trouble. Onslaught of Shadowz is going to get the fear onto Yuumi. We'll find one, and Yuumi is going to follow along with him. And that's 2 kills already for Shadowz, with the dragon spawning in 7 seconds. This is going to be a Infernal Soul for them. And maybe Nicholas as well. Has the 800 gold shutdown onto Nicholas. We go, trying to find one on the backside, but Young Nats is kept alive, maybe? Oh, yes, kept alive, barely, by Donal's girlfriend. And the Infernal Soul is gonna be in favor of Shadowz. Rise pushing in this top lane, Aquatic Bear to join up there. But I mean, you know, Infernal Dragon Soul, and you have the Seraphine and the Sona. I mean, you have the best of both worlds here with the sustain and the damage.
Yeah, and it's really what I really see happening here is kind of, it's very similar to what we saw last game with Sensei Squad trying to set up this 1-3-1, which they really do have available to them with the Rise and the Camille, which have gotten ahead, are really strong at this point in the game. But with Matrix Shadow and Stevicus just being so far up and being caught out, they're really not displaying the patience that they need to have when you're trying to set up a split push. Because I think, you know, that's the hardest part of setting up split push, is having that patience and coordination to know when you're able to go hard as a team and when you have to back off. And that was a situation where we saw Nicholas being collapsed on in the bottom lane there, but Veneris did have the push in top. So if you're Matrix Shadow, you really just want to be sitting a little bit further back. Probably we're trying to get a little bit of vision for the dragon, but as it stands, they end up dying and they give up the dragon anyways, so not in a good spot.
Frosty and Veneris in the side lane. Here we go here, as Frosty seems to be getting the better of it, but Veneris just runs away at Mach 26. The flash forward culling, as Veneris will have to flash away to safety here as well. But yeah, look at that. Frosty goes on a killing spree, but look at the brothers coming in as 3 members of Sensei Squad roll it up, and Matrix Shadow is going to find the shutdown there. But on the other side of the map, Shadowz looking for Nicholas here. I mean, it's kind of hard here. The onslaught of Shadowz were very nicely dodged out there by Hextech Ultimatum.
Yeah, so it looks like maybe Sensei Squad able to take down the mid lane turret. It will be traded, but crucially, the mid lane turret is really valuable to, you know, have parity with that, because the mid lane turret already down for Sensei Squad. It does influence a lot of the vision, but teleport coming through.
Ooh, Young Nat's just able to make it to that tower before it goes down with the TP. Nicholas still in this 1v2 in the top lane here. The root's not going to land. The blue shift. Okay. Ooh. Nice little chunk there from from Nicholas, nonetheless, with that Q. Taking about half HP from blue shift there, but still 3.5 minutes on the elbow.
Nicholas, he looks scary, but again, kind of just doing the same thing that they did last game for Shadowz and sending 2 members over to deal with them, and they just can afford to do that right now because of the lack of pressure elsewhere on the map for Sensei Squad. And this mid lane matchup has kind of gone back and forth, but Veneris ending up dying in the 1v1, really big for Frosty to have that advantage, even if he ended up dying as well. for the side lane, preventing the split push, and right there, Benares, I think he could definitely still have a chance in these 1v1s, but we saw him miss multiple Qs. So again, like kind of what I was touching on with Ryze, difficult champion to play if you're not hitting all of your abilities and hitting those skill shots. As Devik is getting caught out again, you're not going to win these 1v1s, which is why I'm a little bit skeptical of it at this Elo, but Benares, he's still got time to turn it around.
Still got time, and I think as this game goes later, like you talked about already, it's just going to be more and more in favor of Shadowz, and the fact that they were able to get this lead early, the 2,000 gold lead, they got a 22-minute Infernal Soul, is just very, very good for them. And pretty bad. Whoa, that was a very weird animation here. As the onslaught of Shadowz. Blastgun will bring Nicholas into the rest of the team, and Hextech Ultimatum going on to Frosty here. The culling is a bit wide, but canceled nicely and converted into a kill onto Nicholas there. Shutdown gonna be going over, and the Baron now is started up.
Yeah, it is. I mean, they can definitely take this. There's not going to be any ability for Sensei to contest, but now Young Nats is here. I was going to say, I feel like it was going to be a pretty slow Baron. Still definitely could be a little bit faster, but they do take it down. One turret is traded, but thanks to the Baron and powered recalls, won't be two. So the Baron going through will allow a little bit more wave control from Shadowz as they continue to expand their lead here. Looks like it is about 3k at this point, so they will look to expand that using the Baron buff and also wanting to get wave control, as it's about 1 minute and 15 until the Elder Drake, which was what it took for them to end out in game 1.
Blue Shift right now does have that 3-item spike completed, Death Stance, Sterix, and I think this is the point where the Hecarim becomes unkillable.
Yep.
Especially, the Hecarim becomes unkillable when that Death Stance is purchased. Add on the Sterix as well is very, very challenging to take him down, and then even to make matters even worse, you have a double support bot lane of the Seraphine and the Sona to just constantly be keeping Hecarim alive. So Blue Shift can kind of do whatever they want right now in this game, and I think it'll be okay.
Yeah, agreed. It's one thing for Hecarim to be so tanky that, you're not able to kill him, but then also when it's doing that with 3 items that are all at least partially damaged.
Oh my gosh. Nick Laws is in trouble here as the Crescendo's going to find the stun here. Hextech Ultimatum to try to buy some time, but the store is closed today as a nice play comes through now from Dirty Midmain. Encore's going to find 2 as Veneris is going to fall. Blue Shift goes godlike, and they are chasing further. No, they're just going to turn back on to this Elder Dragon. I would like to see them send 1 member mid to clear and push the wave, and that's what we're going to see here as Young Nats is going to take care of the mid wave and try to get that tower as well. But the Elder Dragon is going to be Shadowz.
Yeah, Shadowz is going to take down this Elder Dragon. It does give them, not only do they have the Soul with the Infernal, giving them a little bit more damage, but then also now going to get this Execute ability. So they're not going to even take a recall. It looks like they're just going to push it up mid right now, and they are so incredibly strong at this point. Young Nats, doesn't matter if he's behind in the 1v1 now because he is grouping with his team, and it is going to be at least an inhibitor taken down as Blue Shift setting up the bottom lane as well.
Yeah, I think you can just transfer into bot wave here and just take 2 inhibs. You don't even need to back. I mean, yeah, you have like 1,000. Okay, maybe you should back. There's like 1,000 gold on everyone on the team, or over 1,000 gold on everyone on the team. But grab this inhib, take a reset, and then you can come back and fight with Elder. I mean, you don't really even need to. I think you can just end the game right now if you take a fight. But we'll see what happens as Aquatic there. Stuns up Blue Shift, and the wave's coming in. Onslaught of Shadowz is going to find the Fear onto only 1 his final chapter. We'll get the stun. Encore is going to find 2 as Yuumi gets caught, and Yuumi is dead. Frosty finds the kill there, and I think those are words that I've been saying a little too much this game, but that's just how it has been going. Aquatic Bear is going to fall down as into the backline we go. Nicola is trying to find Frosty, but cannot find anything here, and Shadowz is going to take it in 2-0 fashion.
Yeah, Shadowz. Game 1, it's a close game, but then Shadowz is able to take the lead and end up taking the victory. Pretty similar story here in game 2, as it didn't look perfect. There were definitely moments in both games where where Shadowz had some mistakes, especially in these solo lanes, but able to overcome them and take the victory at the end of the day. So really big here for Shadowz now, being able to go 5-2, will be able to retain their third place position and potentially set themselves up well for the playoffs.
Yeah, Shadow's looking good here. Solid performance coming out from them in this series. And I think, Sensei Squad, yeah, they dropped the ball in this game. I think their playoff hopes are still alive, though, just due to the fact that they have, just due to the fact of their record and then the remaining schedule that they have. Two teams, left over in the lower half of the standings here, but nonetheless, a very, very solid showing from Shadowz, and I think we are gonna have an interview with one of the Shadowz players. But we're gonna take a short break while we can sort that out, and we will be right back. So don't go anywhere.
All right. Well, we are back for an interview. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Thanks for sticking with us. And we are joined by Young Nats, the top laner from Shadowz. Thank you so much for joining us, Young Nats.
Yo, what's up, guys? So happy to be here. We got that 2-0. I'm really happy.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely glad to hear that. And was an entertaining series, even though it was a 2-0, a couple of close games. And, speaking of that, in the top lane in particular, game one, you were playing the Renekton, fell a
Yeah.
little bit behind to the Jax early.
Mhm.
But, at the end of the day, you were able to group up with your team and make things happen. And so, what I'm kind of wondering is, when you're playing against something like the Jax that does obviously bring that immense kind of scaling split push pressure, what's kind of your thought going into the game with something more team fight or kind of team focused with the Renekton?
I mean, pretty much like game plans for our team is like we think our new mid laner and the ADC is our best player, so we try to let them carry. So it's just don't feed and then press W in team fights. That's the goal.
Definitely. I mean, and I was actually talking about it a little bit. I feel like Renekton gets a lot of hate, but I will say, always has that W button, so just gonna be useful for that. But you mentioned the new mid laner, Frosty, and that is a change for your team.
Mhm.
Bringing Frosty in, definitely had some ups and downs so far in this series, but overall looked good. And again, especially for the first series with your team here. So what can you tell us about him as a player and what he sort of is able to bring?
I think the difference between Jenka and him was that this guy's more of a carry player, and that's kind of what we were looking for. He also brings a decent amount of communication. Obviously, it may have led to like some mistakes here and there, but in the end he's like a kind of a carry player. Like you saw the Talia pick, he definitely like kind of carried the game in the late game. So yeah, we wanted to bring him in hopes that he could bring that, which we weren't able to get from our previous mid laner.
Yeah, and you spoke a little bit, before we went live here, you talked about how you felt like a lot of the difference in this series was the team compositions and how, you were able to put together some team compositions that were just a little bit stronger. And in game two, you brought the Sona and the Seraphine into the bot lane, which is something that, we saw a little bit more earlier in the season, but has fallen off a little bit. And I'm just wondering if you can tell us, why that sort of fits for your team in particular.
Yeah, so when we were looking at the enemy team, we were thinking, okay, this guy's gonna play Jinx or Ezreal. We're gonna ban Jinx, and if he plays Ezreal, we're just gonna pick Seraphine into it. So it was just this specific game. We were like, okay, Seraphine's gonna get picked, but with also the addition of our new mid laner, it's a three-way flex. So we were going into it like, yeah, so no matter what, we're just gonna pick Seraphine to Ezreal, and it looks like it worked out.
Yeah, it definitely does look like it worked out in the end. So I guess going back to your performance in particular, young Nats. This time you were going up against Nick Laws in the top lane, and yesterday Sultan was asking these questions in the post game interview. I thought it was a really good thing to ask, which is that we have the all-star voting kind of coming up. And I'm wondering, like, for you as a top laner, how you sort of evaluate yourself in comparison to the other top laners in this league, and who you feel like some of your strongest opponents have been, if any of them have been strong, I guess.
Out of all we've played 6 teams so far, I think this is actually the best top laner I've played against so far, between PGO's top laner, Iconic's top laner, Horizons. I think this guy actually might be the best, at least today, when I played against him. So it would be him, then it would be Horizon's top laner. I don't remember all their names, and then it would be PGO's top laner that I think is pretty good, and I believe I'm like right behind those guys as far as like overall skill.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess kind of what I touched on earlier too, but it seems, I'm wondering if you can touch on your philosophy of top lane of, it seems like you were going against Nicholas here, who was really trying to kind of have that hard carry performance. What Sorry, how am I trying to phrase this? How do you kind of think of yourself as fitting in to this team? You did pick the Jax in the game too, which has that kind of strong carry potential, but played it a little bit more of a team fight style. So can you tell us about sort of your philosophy in that regard?
Yeah, it's pretty much just to like play for our team's team fight. Our players really enjoy, just playing the easy comps, kind of like team fight. It was just specifically versus Camille I wanted to go Jax. It didn't work out as much as I want, but yeah, normally we just go for these like wombo combo type, or just straight up team fight. Feel like it suits our teammates best.
Yeah, and this series obviously did suit you well. So, once again, Young Nats, really appreciate you being here. I just have one more question before you go. Taking the 2-0 victory this week, really big, and it keeps you in that third place position. But looking at next week, week 8, you are going into probably your hardest matchup of the regular season against Goldfish Gaming. So how do you kind of evaluate them as a team going into it? Do you feel like you have a good chance in this series, and how is the team feeling about that?
Yeah, we've been preparing some picks specifically for them, so we're gonna keep that on the low. We're not gonna reveal too much, but
Right.
I think we might have a good chance against them. They are obviously the first place team, so we are definitely gonna try our best this week to get good practice in and preps to hopefully take them down.
All right. Well, we'll be excited to see that one next week. But, one more time, thank you so much again, Young Nats. Really appreciate you joining us. Congratulations on the 2-0 victory. But that is going to be all from us here on CCS1. Thank you so much for tuning in. I've been joined here by my stoic companion, Rye Chains, as I overpower him in the interview. So thank you so much for being here alongside me, Rye Chains. And that's going to be all for us from CCS1. So thank you so much. Don't forget to head over to CCS2, where it's the hype Game 3 matchup between Grinchy Goons and Crosspoint Origin. But we'll see you next time.